Oh, welcome. I hope you're feeling virtually not alone. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I don't know if anybody's even listening right now. Like these voices in the background makes them feel virtually not alone. Your host, General Griswold Gaius, member of the First Blood Regression Protocol and a member of the Fraternal Regiment embodying narcissistic sociopathy. On behalf of the Sacred Order of Fluid Transparency, enthusiasm to film. We have some all-stars in the hive mind today. 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 Oh, hey, what the heck is going on? Hey, Dr. Lenny, Mills is one of my 4 favorite people right now. Are Mills, Upcycle, Afriel, and Joe Cross, because those are the people on the Broken Clock Tower Discord who go to the disclaimer tab and give me a 7 indigo on each stream, because the disclaimer tab is where I put out, like, if I do a Substack or I do a live stream or whatever, it's the one that the only channel in the Discord you should probably have notifications turned on for. Really, really. Welcome, everybody. It's Sheldrake and Demons, I can see. What's the thumbnail you made? Fields of Faith. What the hell, man? There's a separation. It's thin between the guy who gets the show ready and me, and this fella. We got on a card today comparative algorithmics, as well as it's more beautiful and horrible than you can imagine. Thanks for that, fella. Thanks for that, fella. We got Fields of Faith. We got the Sheldrake Demons. We got cards with timestamps on them. We got Rascal merch, and we got Kayfabe appearing. His appearances in the Hive Mind chat at the top. We're taking him to the vet. We have an appointment now. Newsflash: Tuesday, next Tuesday, we'll be taking him to do whatever vets do to dogs that lets them get groomed. And in other news, the updates on the little white one. Food is continued like no other food disappeared yesterday, but again this morning, food has disappeared from the place where I saw the thing run under the shed, which is a tunnel that Kayfabe dug under the shed for reasons unbeknownst to everybody. Farm card of the show, the Jack of Spades. Maybe he used a spade. No, he used his claws to dig under the thing. This thanks, Kayfabe. This is. We are hoping you. Mike made this logo. It started off the WWF one, and then did you download that branding? I don't know. Play this one. All mankind is dominated by a sun dish. Domination. To the right. Domination. It is frail. The dream has its own limitation. Let's get back to your dream. What does the dream say?
We need more psychology. We need more understanding of human nature, because the only real danger that exists is man himself.
Domination is frail. The anima is the female element of the male unconscious. Ladies and gentlemen, the artist formerly known as Teo Falele in the crowd, as well as McMo. They're out there helping you feel virtually not alone. I'm up here saying I threw away this card because it wasn't appropriate. It's the spell card from yesterday. Dominate beasts. I used it last night. There were these giant bats in our game, and I said domination, and then the bats did whatever I said. That was nice. Here's some fresh branding from Howard. Oh, finally, Tunji makes it, and we can do savings throws. That's great. That's great. We've been waiting for you, Tunji.
We all know that there is no agency any living gent can see doing what is right for me. Is lifting up my bro so he can grow some eyes to see that doing what is right for me increases all our agents. See?
And now, the savings throws for today's stream, Sheldrake and Demons. Fields of Fate. In case you don't know, it's your first time? Welcome. You get a savings throw against the mind control we use against you. To get the savings throw, you must choose between survival, social, wisdom, or heart as the basis of how you will resist the mind control. You pick one. I roll the die. If it's over 10, hey, half damage. If it's under 10, oh, full damage. That's savings throw. You choose now. Survival, social, wisdom, or heart. Choose. Survivalist with a 16. Half damage. Half damage. No, 6. Half damage. Socialist, prime 19. Prime 19 for you. Wisdom, no, yes, wisdom, folks. That's 18 for you. Way to go, Sophiologists. Hard folks making it with the 10. You guys don't even have to chat in the hive mind today. Everybody made their savings throws. Indigo kids pairing up with the wisdom folks for the hey, our die got the same number combo wombo. Fields of Face stream savings throws now out of the way. Here's more branding for you. LARP! We have the ability to LARP and LARP hard. LARP! We have the ability to LARP and LARP hard. That was a McMo one, I think. I believe that was a McMo masterpiece. I think that was his stylistic impression, signature thereof. Okay. You type in face to face, because if you've ever been there before, it brings it up. It brings all you have to do is type fa really, and then it's in your search history list. Oh, look, it's an estuary Northwest encountering face-to-face. Shalom! The young Levi. You're like 40 now, aren't you? You're almost 40, aren't you? You're just going to be the Levite at some point. What the... Since Anselman objected to the association of wisdom with the Sophiologists, I had to defend myself. And you see, Anselman, my cross-promotion of the Sophiologists has landed me at a free guest pass to Estuary Northwest Encountering Face-to-Face, September 12th through the 14th, 2024, a 3-day conference in Olympia, Washington, hosted by Grail Country. It's featuring Sophiologist Dr. Michael Martin as headliner, followed up with Pastor Paul, that Dr. Chris Green, the anti-simplification theologian. Oh, Karen Wong, our favorite. She had Tammy on her show and me on her show. This woman on the left there has had a show with both me and Tammy Peterson on it. If you're not a subscriber, what's wrong with you? Oh, look, there's Rafe Kelly, the mover man, and a poet to make it all make sense to you artistic types. Hey, Nico, good to see you again. Thanks for coming back around. It's been a while. There was an incident between me and Nico once, and I thought I'd never see him again. But God willing, peace is bestowed upon us. Okay, on his birthday, 40 is still young, but on his birthday, he'll update his name tag. The old Levite. I'd love to have his dad on. That would be a show. What? now I'm really the heart and driving force behind a thing called. And we have a complex cultish internal glossary I'm now giving you a piece of as part of the Sacred Order of Foolish Transparency obligations I have. I'm in a secret society called the Sacred Order of Foolish Transparency. As you can tell, its theme requires me to tell you that I'm in the secret. Anyway, as that the TLC is not necessarily associated with that, for the record. For the record! But the TLC does have a cultish internal glossary, of which one term is a small world network, about which I will educate you now. For the TLC is a small world network coming online.
Like you give people propofol, you take them out of consciousness. It's a general anesthetic, and as you bring them back in, what you can see is when they're unconscious, the brain breaks down into local networks, and then when they become conscious, it reconfigures as a multi-scale small world network, and that of course lines up with Tononi's theory in some pretty important ways. Or a similar way, you can, I forget what it's another anesthetic was used, and I was talking with Brett Anderson about this recently, and you bring people back, and you can see also self-organizing criticality kicking in again. And that's because the firing and the wiring actually mutually constrain each other. And you can actually do this with binocular rivalry too. So you have an image that's presented to two fields of vision, and they can't be held together, and so phenomenologically you switch between them. And then you can see the self-organizing criticality. This area is firing in synchrony, corresponding to seeing the triangle, and then that breaks up criticality, and this area fires in synchrony when you're now seeing it as the square. And you can actually track the consciousness with the flipping of the self-organizing criticality. So it's already being done experimentally. And then the thing about those is they're not neuroanatomically based. They're functionally based. And what's important about those is they actually point to more comprehensive models, because self-organizing criticality and small world network formation also reliably correlate with measures of general intelligence, which supports the argument I was trying to make that there's a deep connection between the machinery of intelligence and the machinery of consciousness. And so you can start to get empirically tractable ways of testing the very theoretical proposals I was bringing out.
Oh yeah, if you look here on this website for the Pacific Estuary Northwest, where you can buy tickets, the buying tickets part, if you click there, it takes you to here. And if you go here and you look real close, you have to squint, I guess. Squint a little bit, squint it, there. You see where it says enter there a password or code? We have two of those remaining to the very special my birthday party, the September 15th. That's Sunday. We're unlocking those, but there's the precedent of the dog. Anyway, be very excited. It's 12 people, because we don't do the whole, hey, VIP is just how we milk the rich people for more money. No, it's very important people attending a very important birthday party, mine, and which, man, it's really who you know and who you run into in life that changes and shapes things more than you can possibly imagine. And we have a special opportunity remaining if you have the code. There are codes out there that have not been redeemed, and I'm not sure what to do about that yet, sunshine. Please don't take my sunshine away. You know, man, you're like 20 minutes in. Can you hit the Sheldrake and Demons bit now? Fine. Here's who everybody knows who this guy is. I'm sure, and that's interesting to me because, well, no, I've known him since like 2011 at least in his morphogenetic field. But we kind of parallel to the thing I call the corner. Like he's made appearances on channels, but hasn't really been in the corner. Is this fella named Mark Vernon, and apparently this Mark Vernon fella is having regular conversations with this Sheldrake fella, of which the algorithm has fed me one as a subscriber to Mark Vernon. Here's the opening.
I'm Rupert Sheldrake, and I'm here with Mark Vernon. Hello, Mark.
Hi there, Rupert. Hey.
As part of our series of discussions on the fundamental principles of nature, we're going to talk today about randomness. And randomness is a really important concept in contemporary science, but the idea of chance and or whether things are predetermined has a long philosophical history. And I wondered, Mark, as a philosopher, whether you could fill us in on some of the background before we go on to discuss the current scientific state of play.
Yes. So it is, in a way, it's quite different in the ancient world, randomness, and how.
All right, sorry guys, we can't watch this video, you see, because the thumbnail of that video isn't a four-leaf clover of a shamrock, and oxalis is not the trifolium. I mean, how could you even support such? Come on, Jan.
I was understood to developments in the modern world. If you think of someone like Aristotle, he talks about things like randomness. He divides it up in certain ways. So for him, there are some things that happen that are completely necessary.
And I'm sure all that's interesting, but the timestamp I have written down is 55.
And so for him, for example, this means that there is such a thing as real luck. When an example he uses, he says, imagine you go into the marketplace in order to buy something, and you bump into someone that you wanted to talk to. Now, you hadn't gone into the marketplace to see this person, you've gone in to get something, but you say, oh, it's lucky that you've come here too, because I wanted to speak to you. And for Aristotle, that's a real phenomenon. It can still be called luck. It's not just chance in the modern sense of the word. Because you have an intention to speak to this person. And so that kind of teleological directionality, meaningfulness of an encounter is still very meant for him. In the modern world, if something's meaningful, we tend to, as it were, withdraw that from the nexus of causes, saying, well, that's just something which we add on top. Whereas for Aristotle, no, there's not a kind of place that we position ourselves outside of nature. Everything is part of nature, and so there are things that happen by chance, but there's not, I think, the sense of randomness is often meant now, where there's just sort of no sense to it whatsoever. Another area in which Aristotle's notion of random.
All right, I've been busy in the background trying to load up the new fancy Rascal thing as an emoji for the members of the channel, and I have to reduce it in size because it has to be less than 1 kilobyte, and the one I have is too big. And then it took off the transparency, and I completely didn't talk about how the meeting in the marketplace ties in with our promotion of Estuary Northwest encountering face to face. Where whatever, Providence, man, 355. Okay, we're moving on. Yep, here we go.
That sort of is another layer of the discussion, and Providence is the activity of the gods. Maybe for good, maybe for ill. The god Tyche is the god Fortuna in Roman times, the sort of the deity that's active in this way. And so it actively engaging with your fate through practices of theurgy, again, affects what otherwise might just seem random things.
What? Practicing theurgy affects random things? Sheldrake, in with the clarification making, I think.
In the Christian bell in one hand, or it might be a ritual in a temple. In the Christian period, it becomes the liturgy itself. So this is rites or practices that you engage with in order to have a kind of communication with the gods. Prayer. Would be an act.
Jeez, man, you almost gave away plus 40 of saving throws. Okay, it's Fortuna. We had to. I'm sorry. That's it. We're getting through these cards. The next is a series of bangers and Neutrinos decided to spoil the bangers by talking about uncertainty. We got a bunch of uncertainty bangers from Sheldrake coming up, and then one other thing, and then we'll get to demons and fields of faith. And this might be a long show, especially if you let such things as the hive mind take control and steer what happens by saying when they say things like is Grizz's voice purposely freakazoid? Like people deal with nerves a different way. I just channel it all into the vocal cords. It's great. It's great. And then fucking Yon got this guy. He says he says Grizz is an excellent performance artist. I'd buy a ticket. Well, that's an excellent fucking performance, isn't it? Because as you can see from David's greenness in the Hive Mind chat, he has bought a ticket, and you're not greenness in the Hive Mind chat means you have not bought a ticket. You're not a channel member. You can't do Goose like all the fancy people can. What? Oh my God! Just play something. Not yet, Kale, but it might damn well be khaki time if I find the right spot in our demons portion of the show. The agency deck card of the show is the Five of Hearts. Hearts from the agency deck. I don't know what's going on over here. Where were you? I don't know. Here. Oh, just jump to the next one. No, he did the clip. This was where he did the clarification that the theurgy, or what's his face was talking about, just means like prayer and anything that's prayer like.
So theurgy. And I tend to think of it not just as in, you ask the god to do something and then for one reason or another that comes about. It's more of a communication and an exchange, because theurgy always involves some often quite elaborate preparation on your part. It might be ritual cleansings, it might be fasting. And I think that what that achieves is a kind of alignment with the deity that enables then the deity to participate in your own life more keenly, say.
Boy, if I had that, if I could just whip it like this, if I could just go shrink and like drop that 15 seconds in as an MP4 I could play later. You'll see. You'll see. Let's jump to the Sheldrake bangers on the scientific part of uncertainties and randomness. Right? That's what this is. The whole thing is good, though. What?
if you press an A on your computer, you want an A to appear on the screen in your Word program. You don't want a chance, a 70% chance of something else, or even a 1% chance of something else. You want 100% that it will be an A. So we've actually constructed machines that give us a false view of determinism, that deterministic computers give an illusion of determinism. And then in the mechanistic materialist worldview, using a machine as the model for the whole of nature, it gives a false view of nature. So I think that this kind of freedom of indeterminism is actually really important in the way that nature is organized, because it wouldn't be possible for higher level top-down organizing principles to work unless the system they were working on was indeterminate. And so you have basic principles like crystallization. A water molecule, for example, has particular properties that mean that water crystals are likely to be hexagonal, as in snowflakes. But each individual snowflake is different from each other individual snowflake. There's an indeterminism in the way that the actual crystallization occurs, against a background of a kind of determinism that is going to be, generally speaking, hexagonally symmetrical.
And now, the highlight of this old man playing with his toys at 3111, where he demonstrates how fields such as the fields of faith we allude to in the thumbnail affect things. And really, the delight is how delighted the old man is to play with his toy. 3111.
There's this thing because it's all rolled down. And there's the normal distribution curve. Now, doing it again, the same thing will happen, except it won't be exactly the same because there's this element of randomness, but there's this general pattern of the normal distribution.
And now, if I wasn't such a failure, the Discord team would be the type of team who could take this clip and slap up images of the three, the emoji faces, like on top of his thing. Just the team would, if you weren't a
distribution curve. Now I'm going to stop it for a moment, and because what I want to show now is something that's, I think, really quite a profound principle, which is that you can influence what is otherwise random by invisible forces. And in this case, I'm going to do it with a magnet, putting...
Yes, Anselman, the answer to your question, is he talking snowflakes or snowflakes, is yes. Yes.
A couple of magnets on either side of the Galton board, so that when the balls fall down, they go through a magnetic field, which will, because they're steel balls, will bias the way they fall and change the normal distribution. I'm putting the magnets in place here, one on each side, so there's an invisible field between them. And now you see, it's not at all normal distribution now. The whole distribution's biased. And now, if I do this again,
Oh, hey, there's your +4 chance. Thank you. Man, that's a shame because I was trying to share the laugh you gave me from the middle-aged Levi. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. As you can see, invisible fields can affect the distribution.
again, there's clearly a bias of the whole normal distribution. So what's happening here is that the magnetic field, which is invisible, the field between those magnets is not anything you can see, and it's not material, it's physical but not material, is actually influencing randomness and the whole pattern of randomness. And so if we're thinking in terms of how a morphogenetic field could influence random cell divisions or crystallization processes of microtubules inside cells or other physical processes, things that...
That's the way. We visualize it. No, Lenny, I'm sorry. You took too late and you typed to be fancy, which is only +2. But it took you too long because you were being fancy to type it, and you don't get it. You don't get the pluses. Everybody else, Zach, Isaac, and TomTom with a +4 for catching me mute and using the ear emoji, one of our other cult-like practices here on the show.
Remember, Embody, there is no agency. We want what's best.
Well, by God, the show is called Sheldrake and Demon Fields of Faith. We've seen how fields work, but we haven't got through the demons yet. Oh boy. Let's anyway, despite that, let us take one of these. No, that doesn't work. What about this? What about colon? Alice doesn't. Alice was in my algorithm, and I didn't click on it, and now I had to find it, and that'd be hard. There's no money or power in it. It says channel member David Busatelli, also belovedly known as Furry David.
Is everything all right in here?
Yes, Nanny.
Yeah, we're getting to the demon part, and the demon part, ladies and gentlemen, comes from what is known as
It's gonna be alright.
All right, everyone.
Way to start off this banger of yours, Peter Lindbergh. Now, you see, if you're not aware of like anything of the TLC and the Jordan Peterson sphere or whatever, there was this thing called the Stoa, which apparently is not but there is this thing called the Stoa, and there was this thing called the Rebel Wisdom. And while we were sitting here in the poor man's corner, they were like people for the yuppies. They were like they were the TLC for the yuppies. And apparently this one's still alive and having the banger I'm presenting you clips from today. Unfortunately, I didn't do the time stamping of any of the first 20 minutes where they talk about the khakis. So let's see if using the magic of the Control F we can find it while everybody enjoys Crocs.
What makes you assume that I'm not about to feed you all to the crocodile? What makes you assume that I'm not about to feed you all to the crocodile? What makes you assume that I'm not about to feed you all to the crocodile?
That's very exciting. Hello. I see the assassins have failed.
All right. Now, if you recall, once upon a time, somebody in the hive mind said khaki time, and I said it wasn't khaki time. I'm not scrolling up to find it, and I didn't star it like a responsible pilot of a stream. So, but just remember, somebody said it once, and now is khaki time.
Was particularly striking. She was one of these rare Satanists. You know, I mentioned, Peter, that I don't see Satanists all over the place, and I don't believe in these conspiracy theories that seem to be particularly prevalent in the United States. You know, having said that, Julia clearly had knowledge of things that she could otherwise not know. I mean, she knew how a lot of people died. She knew how my own mother had died 30 years earlier. That's one of the.
That's fucked up. It's fucked up on all. This current moment is fucked up for me on 3 levels. First, that their patient's name is Julia, and the lady who died in my house had that same name. Second, that Furry David is saying making sourdough starter is a cult, and said lady's sourdough starter is still in the kitchen. And and thirdly, I don't remember.
Criteria of.
But I wanted to stop it because he was talking about how the demons will know how people died. And that angle is fascinating. That an entity you encounter expressing knowledge of how people around you died, and because it's the door to death, that's fucked up too, man. That's
a foreign spirit influencing someone. She could even see people at a distance, you know, what the paranormal people call remote viewing. For instance, she was talking one time about the chief exorcist, who was a guy who became a friend of mine, a big American ex-Marine, who was one of the most prominent exorcists at the time in America. And she said, you know, I can see what he's doing now. And now I knew he was 100 miles away. And I said, okay. I had an informal relationship with her by that point. I was not a doctor, and I was not her doctor. I don't treat any of these individuals. I just do evaluations. And I said, okay, Miss Smarty Pants, tell me what he's doing. And she said, well, he's walking.
It's not a coincidence that he said Miss Smarty Pants, and this is a khaki story.
Walking along the beach, he's saying his mumbo jumbo prayers. I said, what is he dressed in? She said he's dressed in khakis and a blue windbreaker. So I immediately called my friend, the exorcist, and I said, you know, Father, how are you doing? And he said, you know, I'm doing fine. You know, I said, what are you doing? He first said, who wants to know? I said, I want to know. And he said, well, you know, I usually would be at the rectory, but, you know, I took a drive and decided to say my breviary prayers walking along the beach near my house. And I said, what are you dressed in? And he said, well, I have my old military khakis on, and I have a windbreaker. And it dawned on him. He said, I know what's happening. You're talking to Julia, right? And he said, she's something else, right? Because, you know, I admitted to him that Julia had.
And the person that no longer lives with me would like wake up and tell me of how they had remote viewing dreams involving people they weren't, and I don't know, candidates for presidency and such. What a fascinating time life has been. Blue Church card of the show. Although I'm sure all the Blue Church people can't watch this because, like, on you won't see what you're not ready for, and the Blue Church is not ready for demons. The four of spades is the Blue Church card of the show. Okay, where are we at? I don't care where we're at, man. Just play some branding. All right.
That all sounds well and good, but really, how do I get there? Okay, you said this whole beautiful thing, and I know many of you, especially out there on the YouTube channel, are going to say, you know, I have problems believing this stuff. Yeah, I get it. The thing is, a lot of people who say I have problems believing this stuff think that the way to answer those problems is by theory. And generally speaking, no. You just don't work that way. You don't ride a bike. You don't learn to ride a bike by theory. You don't learn to swim by theory. You can watch a lot of videos about swimming, but I promise you, you will not learn to swim without getting in water.
All right, we got like 5 timestamps of demons, but before we get to 5 timestamps of demons, let's do the comparative algorithmics. And that is like, hey, what's the algorithm showing you? Because as our good friends who are at the True Stream Media covered just the other day in their video on the TikTok video, where the lady discovers that her and her boyfriend can look at the same comment section and see different comments, is over here. And we've caught them at a level of algorithmic control that we gave them the assumption that the comments we're seeing were A, by actual humans, and B, the same that everybody else was seeing. And that was proven fictional by our good friend lady on TikTok being famous for it, and our friends TrueStream for covering it. Here's a tiny piece of, are the algorithms dividing everyone into separate realities online?
Okay, I send this video to my boyfriend who was sat next to me, and then I said to my boyfriend, lol, look at the comments. Bear in mind, these comments were coming up at the top of the list, so as soon as you open the comments, these are the ones that came up for me. Tell me fucking why. My boyfriend opens the comments on his phone. Again, it's the first list of comments that come up. It's the same time on the same video. Or you could get your own hobby instead of waiting around for him. Like, God forbid he has a good time. He meant before 3 a.m. He's ahead of schedule. No fucking wonder we're all so divided when you can look at the same comments on the same video and it'll change them based on who you are, and I presume based on like other activity in the app.
Now you might say no way.
I might say no way, Mel. I might say no way, but I'll just give the people a taste of that. She also does this great bit on how passive-aggressive Duolingo is. But for our purposes today, and on the purposes of this card, comparative algorithmics, I was watching this great video by our good friend Gavin over here, and I noticed the things that were available to me on the right. But let's see the part I was watching first.
And then I'm wondering, it's like, can you love and hate at the same time? Like, who told us that if you have love, you do not have hate? Like, is this just a lie? Is the master deceiver, liar, ruler of this world tricking us into thinking that we can't love and hate at the same time?
I think it's more perfect love casts out hate and fear. But the algorithm decided to give me A, when you just ain't got it all together. B, I quit smoking weed for 6 months. Here's what I've noticed. And then escape velocity versus the rapture. What the hell? I don't know why it gave me that. Our good friend Baxter. But these first two I wanted to call to mention because really, if you were the AI overmind and you had the algorithmic access to all the individuals, wouldn't what's best for them be what's best for you? And if you hadn't figured that out as a half-sentient algorithm, wouldn't you figure it out when you found the Grimgris stream?
We all know that there is no agency any living gent can see. Doing what is right for me is lifting up my bro so he can grow some eyes to see that doing what is right for me increases all our agency.
I have asked both. I have asked Mel via mail. I don't think I've DM'd Aaron directly, but I've asked Mel on Twitter if they'd come on and talk to me, and they've never responded with a yes or a no. I think it's because they're actually Jesuit assassins, and the reason they framed my tweet, I love them for framing, is because I was too right. Because they put me on Athena. They put Athena as the background and then my tweet about them being, and I just said the Jesuit thing. And then she said Jesuit assassins. So I don't think they're ever going to come on the show, but I think there's a mutual love and respect. That's what I think. Oh God, there's so many timestamps for the demons. So many demons. We need a long one. I really need a long one. Okay, what do you got there? You got to load a long one. Son of a man. Here, just play more of that guy talking. Okay.
Yeah, I feel like I may have got caught up in that spell that you can't have love and fear, or you can't have love and hate. So, yeah, question that. I question it. Because what is love, and what's the right way to love? And it's like, imagine there is a God that created all of this, and it's like the way you would love God would be different than the way you would love yourself or love your spouse or your children or your neighbor. And so there's different ways of love. It's not spelled out very clearly. But, to love God, for me, it would be this willingness to do what God wants me to do. A practice of seeking out God's will.
Oh, divine creator of the universe, why can't you send me an email? All right, now, here we go. All right. We got a lot of timestamps. The demons. For some reason, we're starting with 25 minutes. Okay, and go let the cat in. All right.
Religiously inclined, if they're more susceptible to attack or threats from demonic entities. From my own life experience, I grew up an atheist, but the 2 times in my life where I became more interested in religion and made a religious commitment, or was thinking about making a larger religious commitment. The first time was joining a church. The second time was joining a Buddhist Sangha. Were 2 of my experiences that I experienced something both supernatural and seemingly malevolent. And I'm just wondering if there's some kind of link there. And then other times in my life, where I've been completely in my science world and kind of closed off to religion and spirituality, I've never had an issue. So, yeah, I was just kind of wondering about that for myself, but also in general, what maybe makes people more susceptible, or skepticism kind of acts as a deterrent.
Yeah, another good question with a complicated answer. You'll hear highly skeptical people say, well, how come this stuff only happens to, Christian fundamentalists? I do think that Christian fundamentalists exaggerate the prevalence of this stuff. But, to the contrary, I would say that possessions have occurred in all cultures. And in a way, if you have no beliefs, you tend to be a little more in despair about it because, you're confused about what's happening and you don't know who to turn to for help. But certainly possession, again, these rare possessions, they usually happen to people who either have seriously become involved with dark forces in some way, sometimes unwittingly, but have immersed themselves in occult, black magic, that sort of thing. And there's a wide variety of those phenomena in all cultures, and/or have turned to serious evil in their life in some ways. So, possession.
But won't my disbelief in anything spiritual and magical protect me?
By and large, and again, it's a larger topic that we could talk about for a long time, but possession by and large does not just happen to anybody. It happens to people who have, in some ways, consented to dealing with the dark realm in some way. Sometimes, not in any way with intention. And of course, that can happen in any culture, and it has happened in every culture.
Michigan deck card of the show, Ace of Diamonds. Ace of Diamonds. Let's jump to the next timestamp, 3011. Well, no, let's not jump to the next timestamp because I have to tap on the fact that I have to tap on the fact that we have a new donation from Josh Dixon, bringing us to 69% of our Take Kayfabe to the Vet goal. Thank you very much, Josh. Triggered by the criticism of the Mountain Dew. See ya, Hezzy. Have a good one. Okay, and then, yes, we have to finally get to the Fields of Faith part. The Fields of Faith. And that's this whole notion that it seems to me that the secularum puts their faith in the non-existence of demons, and that creates some sort of energy field that might give some resistances. I'm not quite sure how that works. I'm not quite. Just move to the next timestamp. You're lost. What? Yes, go. But we said Fields of Faith, so that's kind of delivering. Hey!
I mean, the systems of explaining this. I, as a Catholic, believe in fallen angels. Muslims believe in fallen angels too. Hindus, believe in the gods and goddesses, and some of them are malicious. So the cultural explanations will differ. But what struck Osterreich, who gave literally thousands of.
All right. It doesn't look at all like some agency changes out shifts at 11 a.m. U.S. Central. It doesn't look like that at all, guys.
Cases in his book. I mean, it's a 700-page book that's been translated in German. Actually influenced William Peter Blatty before he did the movie. He winds up saying, number one, the transcultural similarities are quite striking despite the different interpretive schemas throughout history. And he also says some of these cases, I mean, he never quite comes out and says, I believe in demons, but when he's writing about some of these cases, he says, some of these cases are so striking that it almost makes me want to believe in evil spirits. He never quite took that last conceptual step.
Why don't you drop bangers like that, Hezzy? Algorithms are not sentient. It's just part of a mass formation psychosis that people will think it is. Although an algorithm can channel spirits or demons, it is not sentient. It's like a golem. And now, very excitedly, the timestamp I've been waiting for, right after this. You're always right after
The list?
this.
Yes, any of the first level ones.
I'm gonna get a soda. Anyone want one? Hey, Graham, I'm not in the room, right?
What room? I want to cast Magic Missile.
The room where he's casting all these spells from.
He hasn't cast anything yet. I am, though, if you'd listen. I'm casting Magic Missile. Why are you casting Magic Missile? There's nothing to attack here. I'm attacking the darkness.
And now, the banger, the banger in our presentation from the Stoa Demons with Dr. Richard Gallagher. And note that name, because Dr. Richard Gallagher, the guy who appears in this clip, and the guy who we've shown before with the green-eyed did talk to the mess people. That fella, you guys remember his name, right? You're the hive mind has a memory of that guy. Him, this Gallagher fella, and the guy who's about to appear in the clip are people to watch. People to watch. PPP and with the late magic missile.
Any follow up?
Believe that history, some of whom have also been not possessed but attacked in some ways, even overtly. I believe that they are more targeted, and I believe that, say, all good, to make it a little parochial, all good Christians are going to have some trials in their life that may have some component of, not just hostility from non-believers or something, but some kind of preternatural trial or something. Again, it sounds a little, paranoid or grandiose, but I do think that's correct. I myself would not do the work I do unless I had people praying for me. I just wouldn't do it.
Thank you, Christina.
Oh, he's about not this guy, but the next guy. The next guy. I can't believe the Stoa has him. Very nice, Peter. Way to go.
Robert, you had a few questions.
Thank you so much for speaking with us. I want to ask my second question first. I'm a therapist and I encounter a lot of cases that are somewhat similar to this. But in my work, we're able to deal with many of them in a kind way, not a confrontational way.
Grim, I'm just listening. Who is that? That is Robert Falconer, apparently related to the internal family systems, which is invoked in our friend Jean Vervaeke. A contact with the Hermes of all people. In a video supposedly coming out on his channel, he talks about it with Pastor Paul. Where the hell is that, John, and your team? I know the Vervaeke Foundation monitors these streams. Where the hell is the Vanderklay footage?
And they seem to go to some kind of healing or redemption. Do you see any of that in the exorcism framework?
Oh, yeah. This part, we're going over it again because it just drove me nuts. He's like, we lead the demons into the light and they seem to heal. I swear.
Encounter a lot of cases that are somewhat similar to this. But in my work, we're able to deal with many of them in a kind way, not a confrontational way, and they seem to go to some kind of healing or redemption. Do you see any of that in the exorcism framework?
Well, as I said earlier, I do make a distinction between people who need psychological healing. And again, I'm a psychoanalyst, and I'm also a psychopharmacologist, and I believe in different routes to healing, human troubles. Let's say. There is a type of healing, I suppose, that you could say goes in on exorcism, but it's more of a combating overt forces.
Mm-hmm.
So I would draw a distinction between, and again, I'm not doing the exorcisms. I'm not doing, prayers of deliverance. That's not my role. I just evaluate people, and I've wound up evaluating, as I said, perhaps more of these individuals than any doctor in history. Now, of course, I also see.
See, that's why I say to watch Dr. Gallagher there. We say to watch Falconer because he's not an FS toady. And the name I don't know that anybody remembered for me with the meth guy. Move on to your objection. This part here, you see, he mentioned it a little bit. How some people are just they're psychiatric conditions. This part I particularly took issue with right about here.
And for some kind of severe demonic attack. I think in today's world, Robert, if I may, are primarily psychiatric cases. So, as you're aware, because you're in the field, there are many varieties of psychosis. And these psychoses will often be associated with a delusion or a hallucination, that is claimed to be coming from demons. So obviously psychosis is a major category that one has to differentiate from a true demonic attack. I think different types of dissociative disorders, especially what used to be called multiple personality is now called dissociative identity disorder.
All right, that was a horrible timestamp, and he's not there yet, but it backs up what I was saying about him separating psychosis and demonic attacks. Meanwhile, please, those of you who are the due diligent type, take a look into this thing called the Unicorn Tapestries he's promoting low key. I'm suspicious that's very revelatory of his character. Now, maybe the part you wanted to show.
Those cases can have, an elaboration of what they call, as you're aware, I'm sure, an altar, where, there seems to be a malevolent or seductive or, hostile altar express themselves. And people can sometimes be confused by that. I mean, during the course of my life, I've been an extremely busy clinician. I've evaluated probably in my life, especially because I used to be an emergency director for a county, maybe 25,000 people.
Wow.
I've seen a lot of people with dissociative identity disorder, but I've never confused that with possession. The final category is a little more variegated. It's people with severe personality disorders. As you exorcist, a lot of possessed cases I've seen, the person will shake a bit. To a doctor like myself, especially with the development of modern neurology, I can recognize this is not epilepsy or something. But before there were MRIs and EEGs and stuff, there probably were a certain amount of neurological conditions like epilepsy and Tourette's, for instance.
Fluffy puppies. And I'm just trying to talk, but there's all these beautiful flowers interrupts that interject and always come out. They call it Tourette's, and you have your little tics like this, and you say things like fluffy clouds, beautiful sunsets, beaches. No, you don't. You say horrible shit because whatever, man.
That were mistaken for some kind of severe demonic attack. I think in today's world, Robert, if I may, are primarily psychiatric cases. So, as you're aware,
primarily, they fall in the bucket of I'm not dealing with that. Now, I have one last timestamp, and we're finally done with these demons. The whole thing was pretty good, really.
Possessing me, or Grandpa James was possessing me, or this aunt I knew who was a dark figure who hated me. The demons will have to confess that they were lying. Couple of aspects of that. First of all, the demons lie all the time. And they, people say, well, the priest forces them to tell the truth. It's not really the priest, it's God. I mean, obviously it's our Lord who delivers people. It's never a human being. It's the priest acting in the name of God, or a minister, for instance. And invariably, when the demonic entity is forced to reveal their true name, you know you're on the right track, because they don't want to do that. I mean, if you think about it, they've hidden themselves throughout history, and partially they want to hide from people, although partially they want to terrorize certain other people. The strategies are always very individualized. As a classicist, I was fascinated by the whole idea of.
All right, so there you should have been tantalized if they're the type to be watching the whole thing. The Fields of Faith part is, man, it's when you knew that the stream should be called Fields of Faith, you knew. But it has something to do with the things we actually have faith are true, which aren't necessarily what we believe or what we say or believe. That's why I call them shadow faiths. And something about how those fields work, like the morphogenetic fields Sheldrake was showing. I don't know. I do know this. Whatever the actual cosmology of what we exist in is that it's more beautiful and horrible than we can imagine. And like, as if we look wherever we look, it'll go on. If you look for beautiful things, the beauty will go on forever. If you look for horrible things, the horror goes on deeper and deeper forever and never. Anyway, that's been the Sheldrake Demons stream. Thanks to Josh Dixon and the other money coming. Shut up.
Slime! What? It's a river of slime!
I hope I gave you something to think about, and you think about those thoughts and put them in the comments for a +5 on the next stream save. Well, we're all in this together. What? There's a train.